For emergency workers, the tragedies they experience on the job have a way of spreading out and darkening their whole lives. More and more police and fire departments are responding by using psychological debriefing sessions to help their people cope with the extreme emotional stress of their work. In Austin, Texas, many rescue workers are still haunted by an incident that took place on the night of April 2nd, 1993, when Police Sergeant Don McDavid was the shift commander on duty.
And I think part of the major issue I had to take care of was the feelings of frustration because I could do nothing. I could do nothing. It's affected me worse than most incidents that have occurred on duty in my life. What actually took place was that Keith got behind this vehicle for a traffic violation. The driver of the vehicle decided not to stop, decided to run.
"22-year-old Keith Sheffield had been a police officer for less than 7 months.
He was married, he had a child, he had one on the way. I kept thinking of the fact that a police officer is not supposed to die this way.
To this day, I can still hear him scream. And it is something that you hear, you'll never forget.
I just heard a big kabang, and I just thought, oh no, the officer's been hit.
Lauren Newman lived just a few blocks from the site of the accident.
Oh my God. When I saw the blood seeping out from his nose and his mouth and his ears, somebody call for help! I was extremely terrified. I had never been in a situation like that before, and I don't wish that upon anyone.
EMT Ken Saunders and his partner were the first rescue workers on the scene.
We knew it was an officer from our sector by the markings on the car. And with the damage, you know, that really escalated that personal apprehension. He's basically covered in blood, and at first I didn't recognize him.
Austin Fire Captain Mike Van Blaricon showed up soon after.
He was pretty well crushed into the seat.
Pinned across his lap and altered, got a head injury.
The encroachment into the interior compartment of the car was incredible.
Joe, I can't see him from like mid-thigh on down.
I knew we had an extensive extrication ahead of us, and time was critical.
You're okay, bud.
Sergeant Mike Phillips was the first police officer to arrive.
Anybody witness this collision?
Police officers are supposed to be in control. In this particular instance, here a very young officer was that I happen to know. He's trapped in a vehicle. He's flailing with one arm, and he's screaming and screaming and screaming. And in the face, he looks a lot like my son.
Okay, just relax this arm a bit for us now, bud. I got the cup already pumped up.
Let me back to KBO!
Head injury patients are oftentimes combative.
Really fighting.
It took everything that my partner and I had just to restrain the arms.
Talk to the hospital about getting some sedation.
Instinctively, he was fighting us because he thought we were some sort of aggressors. He was trying to pull his gun out of his holster with his right hand.
Let's get one of the officers in here to get the gun out.
We got a shotgun in here, too. Got it. Okay. We got the service.
I need an officer for his gun. Right? Lock it up and put it in the back of my car.
Just relax.
It affects me anytime you go to a scene, but it affects me more if it's someone that you know.
Keith Sheffield, they're trying to get him out of the car now.
Keith was energetic. He had his whole life ahead of him, his whole career ahead of him. He was screaming. squealing scream. I reached inside and I grabbed him by the arm, and he looked at me like he didn't know who I was.
Just relax, bud.
I didn't think he would live to get to the hospital.
We're getting you out of here, okay?
Sergeant Phillips was behind me, came up behind me, and he could tell that I was having difficulty dealing with the situation. And he said, "Mac, back off a minute. You're too close to this situation." And I said, "I don't want his wife hearing about this on TV." I said, "I'm going to go get his wife. I got to go tell his wife what's going on."
Take her to Brackenridge.
Hang on, buddy. Monitor shows about a rate of about 100.
Well, we got enough room. He's not a problem underneath. It's just from the side.
They just opened it up like an old rusty can. And then and only then were they able to free his legs and feet.
You okay? Everybody?
After more than 40 minutes, Keith's body was finally lifted free of the wreckage.
That's good stuff.
Those firefighters and those EMS techs that night, they were going to get that boy out of that car alive, whatever it took. There was no way to get the helicopter into the area, so we blocked off all the intersections just to allow that ambulance to run straight to Brackenridge.
Can I help you guys?
I got the monitor.
At Brackenridge Hospital, Keith was examined by emergency physician Sean Wasmuth.
40% of severe head injury patients, like Officer Sheffield, die. The remaining that survive often about half have permanent disabilities.
Dawn brought Keith's wife, Dusty, who was 7 months pregnant, to the hospital.
I didn't go into details. I didn't know at that point whether he was still alive or not.
Sergeant David, as he's driving me there, was telling me that, he's real critical and they don't know if he's going to make it, and I just didn't hear any of that.
He's stable at this time, but he's critical.
When I walked into the emergency room and just saw him laying flat on his back, he didn't look like Keith, he looked dead.
You bagging?
I'm bagging.
Let's go.
Fortunately, he had no other life-threatening injuries except for his neurological injury. He was then sent to the intensive care unit. At that time, we were playing a wait-and-see game.
Keith was in the coma for 12 days. 12 very long days.
Keith, they're told she could do something for us today. Told me you did a hook 'em horns for her. You gotta show us. Keithy? Come on, babe.
It was great to see him move and wake up.
I knew you could do it.
8 months have passed since Keith Sheffield's accident.
When I first went to the rehab center, the doctor with his first evaluation there told me that it would probably be 6 months to a year before I could get back to a desk job. And I told him, no way, I can't do it. I said, if I'm not back at work, I'm going to go crazy. I've got to be at work. And within 2 weeks, I was back at work. Way off.
Whoa.
I honestly didn't think that he ever would come back to work as a police officer. I was proven wrong. I learned a lot by it. I learned you can never count anything out until it's over. I didn't believe that Keith was going to live. I mean,
Ann Hutchison is a stress debriefing counselor.
The problems that EMS police officers face if they don't get a chance to deal with the impact of their calls on them is high rates of suicide, high rates of divorce, high rates of drug and alcohol abuse, feelings of isolation.
What the birds need.
That's enough? Enough?
Yep.
Okay. Watch them so they don't fly out. Before you see your kids and you think how much you love them, but it just doesn't really go down deep until something like this happens, and you worry about what would happen if you weren't there. I really tried to make every moment I have with them the best one.
Okay, what's the ball?
The driver of the speeding car was subsequently arrested and charged with evading arrest.
Go! All right, let's go get it.
I'm real proud to work for the Austin Police Department. It means a lot to me, more so now than it ever has before. I'll never forget what everybody has done for me. And I hope to return it to somebody else that needs it someday.
Did you have a good day today?
I'm really glad he's going to be around to watch our kids grow up.
Okay.
And I'm planning on spending the next 50, 60 years with him. So I just thank God that he came out of it so beautifully.
Just going to church. Have a good day. Have a good time.